Our veterans need your support. Foxfield Farm for a Recovery Mission is a not-for-profit organization that has been established to provide an equestrian groundwork training program for U.S. veterans with PTSD and related issues incurred through military service. This curriculum will be offered at absolutely no cost to any veteran participating in the program. This foundation will also incorporate the repurposing of rescue horses and locating new, responsible owners. The synergy of the work invested by the veterans to aid the recovery of these horses is equitably therapeutic. Please go to our website to be a supporter, www.foxfieldrecoverymission.org. Thank you. Hello, I'm Susan Patricelli-Regan, host of Connecticut Valley Views. Thank you for joining me today, and welcome to the members of Metacomet Post 1926, Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States. And first we will have an opening statement by Vice Commander John Fox.
Thank you, Susan, for the opportunity to meet with you today. We are representatives of Metacomet Post 1926 of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. I am John Fox, the incoming post commander and a Navy veteran that served in the war in Vietnam. Next is Lee Wilson, who is a member of our post and is also commander of District 3. Lee served in the U.S. Army in the Gulf War. John Lamb is on my left, is a quartermaster and is also a U.S. Army veteran that served in Vietnam. Our post is located in Simsbury and also serves Granby and East Granby. Post 1926 is a small post with only about 65 members, but we are one of the more active posts in the state of Connecticut. Our role is to promote veterans issues at the local, the state, and the federal level. We also are very active in the community with numerous community projects and projects that support veterans in need. Lee, John, and I will discuss more about these topics later in this interview.
Very good. Now, John, we need to ask you, what is the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States?
Thank you, Susan. The Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States is a U.S. war veterans organization that was established in September 29th, back in 1899. The membership consists of veterans who, as United States Army soldiers, United States Navy sailors, United States Marines, United States Coast Guard sailors, and United States Air Force airmen served the U.S. in wars, campaigns, and expeditions on foreign soil or on hostile waters. The organization came about when two independent groups, the American Veterans of Foreign Service, which was a Columbus, Ohio organization, and the National Society of the Army of the Philippines, a Denver, Colorado organization, secured rights and benefits for veterans of the Spanish-American War of 1898 and the Philippines War of 1899 and 1902. These two organizations merged in 1914, creating the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, and the VFW was chartered by Congress in 1936. To be eligible, veterans need to have served in a hostile environment. And we have a chart here with some campaign medals. If you've received any of those medals, you're eligible to be a member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. There are nearly 6,400 posts right now nationally in the United States and worldwide, and 52 departments in all 50 states, Asia, Pacific areas, and in Europe. The purpose of the VFW is to speed rehabilitation of the nation's disabled and needy veterans, assist veterans, widows, and orphans, and dependents of needy or disabled veterans, and promote Americanism by means of education and patriotism, and by constructive service in local communities. Some Members of notable VFW have been Presidents Theodore Roosevelt, Harry Truman, Dwight Eisenhower, John Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, and George Bush I. Al Gore, Robert Kennedy, Chuck Hagel, General Pershing, and a couple of Medal of Honor winners, Audie Murphy and Sergeant Alvin York back in World War I.
All right. Well, Vice Commander John, how is the Post involved in community activities?
Susan, the Post is involved in community activities. I'll give you some examples of that. Once a month on the third Tuesday of each month, we sponsor the Military Appreciation Day at Redstone Pub. This is a social event for active military and veterans that are in the area. It's held at 5:30 to 7 p.m. Beverages and food are served. All are welcome, especially those needing assistance with the VA or are veterans in need. From Veterans Day to mid-December, we hold a clothing drive for our Veterans Home in Rocky Hill. The Veterans Home in Rocky Hill is a nursing and chronic care facility with approximately 140 beds. We collect new clothing and accessories that are wrapped as holiday presents around Christmas time. We have a fantastic function with live music and a 50-50 raffle at the Old Well Tavern to kick off the clothing drive. The drive is held again from Veterans Day to mid-December. We also have scholarships for the youth, which are the Voice of Democracy and Patriots Pen essay competition for scholarships. Patriots Pen is for students grades 6 through 8, awards totaling $54,000 total at the national, state, and local level, with the top award is $5,000, plus a trip to Washington, D.C. Voice of Democracy is for grades 9 through 12, with a national award of $30,000. The rules and details can be found at vfw.org/youth and education. We also sponsor a Teacher of the Year and Scout of the Year awards, and we attend all the Eagle Scout award ceremonies in Simsbury to honor the Scouts' achievements. The VFW and American Legion co-sponsor the Veterans Day and Memorial Day events, and I'll talk more about the Memorial Day event in my closing statements. We also, one of our major projects, and we're extremely proud of it, is the Simsbury Veterans Memorial. Members of the VFW and American Legion formed a committee, raised over $400,000, had the memorial next to the library constructed to recognize those veterans who had given their lives in the ultimate sacrifice in service to the country that are from Simsbury, and also with pavers on the base of the memorial, recognize the families can honor a veteran that served in the family. Everyone should go, anybody who is watching this should go over to the Veterans Memorial. It's a beautiful sight.
I would just like to add to that. It's not only a beautiful sight. I think the fact of the matter is it's in the center of town. It's very evident to people. It's near the community centers. Let me ask you a question. Who designed it? Whose idea was it?
It was designed by the committee, which also included, we had a design architect, a landscape architect, who took our ideas and put them into the design. There's close to over 17 final designs that we finally
So you had to pare it down, and how did you come to that conclusion? You voted on it?
No, it was an evolution process. Some of it was driven by dollars, what the budget was.
Isn't everything driven by dollars? Now, also, I'm just going to ask a couple other questions. When you were designing it, there were certain features that what were the features that you were looking for? What were the high points of the statement you were trying
Well,
to make?
the columns are really the center of focus is the columns, and those columns are to represent the four tenets of both the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the American flag, and the Liberty Bell. The columns also, the primary purpose of the columns is to feature the names of those who have fallen, that are from Simsbury, who have given their lives in service to the country.
And how long did the project take from beginning conception, roughly speaking, to final execution?
Len Lance was the chairman, and he had the original idea, and after a visit to upstate New York in 2012. And we dedicated it in 2016, in Veterans Day of 2016. So to build it took 4 years. However, in 2017, we put in an addition to the memorial. So we've really worked on it we still have ongoing improvements that we're doing today. And we constantly do paver drives every year to solicit and give the opportunity for families to recognize someone in their family who has served.
Well, you may not have the answer to this, but let me just ask you, who contributed the money? Were local residents? Did it come
Sure.
from all over the United States? Did it come from the veterans themselves?
Approximately.
And was there any federal money?
We can divide it up into thirds. A third of the money came from the paper drive. A third of the money is independent citizens just donating and businesses donating to the memorial. And a third of it came from a grant from the state of Connecticut.
All right, and so the pavers are sold to keep up maintenance or to add to it, or?
No, the maintenance is done by the town. We gifted the memorial to the town in 2016, and with several stipulations. And one is that we gave a maintenance spec to the town on how we wanted it maintained. So they provide that service. So.
Well, thank you for that. I think a little bit of background on it, because we are trying, folks, to get you to come and see it, to understand what this post is all about, what the VFW is all about, which is very important. The face of the VFW has changed, and the old profile no longer exists. And I'm not even sure it existed before. I think sometimes that's fake news. And I'd like to say that these gentlemen are very progressive. They're very active in their communities, with the veterans themselves, with their families. They're a very productive group, as I have always found the military to be. And I truly hope that you will think about joining your local VFW and supporting all the programs that they do. Well, let me just go on with this, John. Tell me about your local programs to assist veterans in your community.
The program we're probably the proudest of is, in keeping with our mission of supporting veterans, we formed a program called Adopt a Vet. And two examples of how this program works. We had a gentleman in the area who was a disabled veteran, found himself behind on his rent payments, so we stepped in and helped him with paying his bills. We had another veteran who was homeless. We were notified that there was a homeless veteran in Simsbury. He had been living in the woods of Simsbury for about 2 years.
Oh my.
When we were notified, we basically brought him in, provided him a home, and provided him transportation and got him a job. So now he's semi-independent. We still are working with him on issues that we call it three-step process. He's at step 2. Step 3 would be where he is self-sufficient and on his own.
Well, that's amazing. Now, where did he serve? Do you recall?
He was a Marine in Guantanamo Bay.
Okay. All right. And so that would put him at about what age when you started to help
He's in
him?
his 30s.
Okay, in his 30s.
Early
All right.
30s.
So we're talking about younger veterans. We're talking about, I found actually the older veterans are quite independent, but younger ones I think sometimes are afraid to come forward.
Well, this is our biggest problem, is that identifying, we're here to help the veterans in the local community, and the veterans in need wind up being very proud people. And so identifying, it really boils down to someone else in the community identifying, hey,
Yes.
Joe Blow has just
Yes.
become disabled, needs
Yes.
a handicap ramp or
Yes.
some additional support. So that's,
Well, this is where we want to make a statement too, that we urge you not to feel shame, not to be embarrassed, because people are here and they want to help and they want to bring you into a better quality of life. I think that's the point of our program today.
there's also, there is a ton of grants and funds out there. And if we find a veteran that their needs are greater than we can serve, then we will also lobby to those organizations which have those grants. For instance, at the federal, national level, we have a program called Unmet Needs. And I think Lee will talk a little bit about that later on. So, so there is additional foundations that we can go to.
Sure.
And help the veteran with more substantial. But the Adopt a Vet program is really saying we essentially adopt that veteran and bring him into our organization so that we can be beside him and helping him go through the barriers that have caused him to become a veteran in need.
Excellent. So I would call that no man left behind, or
Right.
woman.
And there's also quite a few other programs that
Okay.
we have to assist veterans. The suicide prevention training was just conducted, and we will be running additional programs. This is a needed program because 22 veterans a day commit suicide, and that number is driven by a good percentage of them are veterans that are coming out of the military and transitioning into civilian life and find they can't cope. There's also the veterans that have just have retired and find that some of the issues that they were dealing with in the military are coming back to haunt them. The other programs we have is support for Wounded Vet Strong Club at Simsbury High School, which was a fundraiser for the Fisher House. This year they generated $4.5 thousand for the Fisher House, contribute to the Fisher House. We support the DAR's Wreath Across America event with Honor Guard and veterans to carry the wreaths. And Lee and I are on the 5th District's representative in Congress, Veterans Council, to give our representative input on upcoming legislation, predominantly on veterans benefits. At the state and local level, we also have service officers that aids veterans in getting the benefits they deserve from the VA. We also participate in veterans presentations at school to allow veterans to tell their stories to students.
Well, John, tell me about other local groups that you recognize.
Well, other local groups, we recognize other members of the community basically with a certificate of appreciation. And we have an upcoming event. Some Boy Scouts are being promoted up to the Eagle Scout level. And so we will do a presentation, give them a certificate of appreciation, and recognize these young men for the achievements that they've gained and achieved through their years in scouting. We also like to recognize all of the first responders in town. The Volunteer Fire Department, the Volunteer Ambulance Association, and our local police department. We ask each organization to select a member who they feel best exemplifies the volunteer nature of the organization, has dedicated years of service, possibly has performed something above and beyond the normal call of duty. But we like to recognize these members of our community with a certificate of appreciation, that the veterans appreciate what you do for, not only for the veteran community, but for the town as a whole. So those are some of the other community activity people that we feel are important for us to pay tribute to.
Totally agreed, totally agreed. I'm just going to interject something here. We are working with various VFW groups and 1926 because we are hoping to we have established, my husband and I, a 501c3. It's for veterans and first responders who have PTSD and related mental issues. And it's an equine, groundwork equine therapy program, and I urge you to go to our website, which is www.foxfieldrecoverymission.org, and you can check that out there. And we are working, hopefully, to get some of the members from this group to participate. All right, Lee, tell me about some of the major accomplishments.
Well, I think one of the major accomplishments that the VFW has helped is the GI Bill, keeping the GI Bill for our soldiers that have served. And now they have what they call the Forever GI Bill, so it can't expire. And there's a new thing that's out to transfer unused GI Bill resources to your spouse or your dependents up to 36 months if they qualify, and family members. But the one thing that I read is the family member must be enrolled in the Defense Eligibility Enrollment Reporting System before the veteran leaves the military. I didn't know that before. And they need to have 6 years of active duty or reserve. And that's how the transfer policy works. National Home for Children is a big deal for the VFW. Any veteran's family that needs a place to stay can apply. Connecticut has a house at this complex. Everybody thinks, I guess it's when they say National Home for Children, that it's one home. It is a big complex, and the National Home for Children is working on trying to get a transport system to take them around this campus that is got to be, I think it's like 20 acres, and they do a lot of good work and make sure that our families of our veterans that come home can have a place to go and not have to worry about trying to find a place to live.
So we're talking transition here, helping people transition during various points in their life. It could be an older gentleman, as you talked to, who was lost in the woods. It could be a veteran who's returning. It could be, the whole point, I think, is that what we are trying to establish is, as I said before, a better quality of life and maintaining the unity of the family.
Right.
And the family can be either truly your blood relatives, it can be very close friends, but we like to think that it's the VFW that is your family as well. Would you not agree?
All of us are comrades. You know, we all take care of each other, and that's the big part of being in the VFW, like being when you're in your military service. You had your battle buddy. Well, it's like me and John are all
Good
battle
point.
buddies and comrades,
Yes.
and we make sure that we all
Good
look
point.
out for each other and make sure that we take care of each other.
Good, very, very good point. So why is membership so important then? What's your message to the
That membership
ladies and gentlemen that are out there?
Membership is important to us because we take care of our own. We lobby for the rights for us to keep our services, like to be a hospital, GI Bill, unmet needs. I mean, that what the VFW is out there looking out for, taking care of those soldiers that kind of get lost in the shuffle. And I mean, we've always watched out for each other in battle, and now we're watching out for each other back here at home to make sure that we're taking care of it. At one time, I guess there was no guarantee for health care, no veteran pension, and not many veterans were left to fend for themselves and sacrifice. And now that the VFW is here, we're keeping that from being lost again. And we're fighting for the legislative muscle to work through Capitol Hill and for the national in D.C. and in Connecticut. Stand up for the rights, fight, protect our critical veterans programs, mobilize grassroots support, make sure that the veteran is not, or his family, if he needs help, he's got a hand.
So there's continuity there. You had your buddies, you had your group, you had people you could rely on, and now we want to keep this continuity going, and that's what you're here for.
Right.
Wherever they need it, however they need it, and once again, I can't say too strongly, this is something you must step forward to help yourself, because when you help yourself, you help your family, and when you help your family, you help the United States entirely.
Like John had said before, our VSOs, our VFW service officer, is stationed across the country in major bases to help with your VA claim. If you're trying to get to the hospital, if you have a disability, if you have trouble, that's what they're there for. We're here to make sure that there's a seamless transition between your military service or your past military service, and you being where you can take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, so
self-sustain
the
yourself.
hand is out, and it's up to you to take it. Now we're going to have a closing statement. John?
Thank you again, Susan, for the opportunity to discuss the Veterans of Foreign Wars and post-1926 activities and its mission. We feel strongly in the VFW mission to help those who are presently serving and who have served and their families. We can only continue in this role if veterans see the importance of the VFW and join, especially the younger veterans that can shape the organization into what the future needs of veterans, the community, and the nation will be. We have several upcoming events in May. The Poppy Drive at Fitzgerald's and Simsbury Stop and Shop are our primary fundraiser. The poppy is the official symbol of the VFW, and we distribute poppies made by disabled veterans on the 2 weekends preceding Memorial Day. And also, one of our most important events is the 100th anniversary of the Memorial Day parades and services following the parades. Our first parade is in Terriffill, starting at 9 a.m. with a memorial service following the parade. The second is on Main Street in Simsbury, followed by the service at the Simsbury Veterans Memorial that kicks off at 1:30. We hope that everyone watching this program will attend. For more information about the parades, feel free to contact me, John Fox, my phone number is 860-658-0388 or at jrfoxx@comcast.net.
Well, I'd like to thank the VFW Post 1926. I'd like to thank you for your service, for your ongoing service to your colleagues. Very important, and I hope we've gotten the message across today. Put your hand out there because there is a helping hand waiting to assist you. All right, and I'd like to give the website, vfw.org, where you can find more information, and you will be able to find Post 1926 on that site as well, and you can find other posts that are close to your area. I'd like to also say that you'll be able to see this program. You can see all of our programs on ctvalleyviews.com website, and this is Susan Patricelli-Regan. Thank you for joining me today in bringing proof to the people.
The men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today.